Hi, my name is Brooke. I'm an intern at Hidden Beach. I'm here with Alison Ball, a consultant at Hidden Beach, and we're back with Intern Interviews.
Whoop whoop!
So I've been working with you for quite some time now, but I don't really know much about your career, where you started, how you got into the music business. I guess I'll just start with, where did your passion for music come from?
Well, that's a really good question. So I grew up in Los Angeles, so I've always been around the entertainment business. And I started right out of college. I went to UC Berkeley and I graduated, and I started working in music management first. So I worked for a person that's a big music manager, a guy named Shep Gordon. Mm-hmm. And when I worked with him, I was assistant controller of his company. So I got to work with Luther Vandross, Teddy Pendergrass, Alice Cooper, the Calloway brothers, and I handled all their money, all their tour accounting. And then he also did film and TV and film and kind of got involved in that. And I really loved the creation of making records. Somehow I fell in love with creation of making records. So I took a step back and I went and became a secretary at a record company and the A&R department, which is artist repertoire, at a record company at CBS Records.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So in college, did you major in music, or what did you study?
No, I didn't major in music. I was one of those kids that kind of went everywhere, but I finished my pre-med. So I was pre-med, and then I had a minor in business. And then I graduated with a degree in psychology because I really just didn't know what I wanted to do. So,
That's a lot of education.
Yeah, it was a lot. But I knew so many people in the entertainment business that I really think I used my psychology is A1 in the music business because everybody's crazy. Except me. No, I'm joking. I'm just joking. I'm crazy too. And honestly, I just knew so many people in the business, and I love music. My mom was a classically trained pianist. I knew all these people that were in the game already in the music business, and I kind of
just from living in LA.
Living in LA and growing up where I grew up, a lot of people had bands. So I don't know. I just kind of fell into it, and really on the business side of creativity. And I really see myself as a conduit of helping artists with their business side of the music business, not just creative, but also how to make money in the business.
Yeah. Okay. So starting with your first job, you got it through networking, as you said. Did you do anything in particular to stand out?
Well, one, I'm a super hard worker. So when I first I worked at the management company, I always was the first one there and the last one to leave. Ooh. And anytime there was
What time was that?
Oh, I used to get in. I would say I would get in at 7 in the morning and leave at 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, I was crazy. But I'm still kind of like that. I work 24/7. I love my career. I love working. I will never retire.
She's always doing something.
Yeah,
I can vouch for that.
I'm always busy. It's just my personality. People always say to me, do you ever sit down? I'm like, when I'm asleep. And I don't sleep many hours. But no, really, I always dived in on projects. So
what were some of your first projects at the management company?
So at the management company, I worked on Alice Cooper's tour accounting. I worked on Luther Vandross, all these different projects there. But really where I got the niche for A&R and the real music business is when I went to Sony Records. And I helped in the promotion department. I helped the A&R people. I would find producers for them. I would listen to many, many, many demos. That's when demos came in cassettes, because I'm super old. So we had cassettes, and we started, Vital, and I would listen to all the demos and write responses and find the hot new producer who was coming out and tell all my A&R bosses, this is a hot new producer. They produce this, they produce that. So I really dived in, and I really love just working with artists and producers. And that's kind of how I gravitated. And then 1 year, I gave myself 1 year because I had got accepted to medical school.
Oh, wow. And this is while you were a secretary?
Secretary. Okay. So I took a year off. I graduated from college. I did the MCATs, and I did not want to be a doctor. So, but I was just trying to please my parents.
Yeah.
And so
a lot of the viewers can definitely relate to that.
Yeah, you want to please your parents at the same time. You're like, I couldn't even stand the sight of blood. If I saw blood, I would pass out. But, you know, I was thinking I'll be a therapist or something like my
Yeah.
mom. And I gave myself 1 year. And in 1 year, a really amazing woman in my life, a woman named Brenda Andrews, called me up and said, you're about to be head of A&R manager at EMI Records under a guy named Ron Fair. He's looking for somebody who's can take to the next level from an assistant to an A&R manager and help manage all the roster. And you have the job. I hadn't even interviewed. And I said, what do you mean I have the job? She goes, well, he's a really good friend of mine. I told him the only person he's hiring is you because you work harder than anybody else.
Whoa, okay.
So
hard work, we got that.
Hard work is number one. And then knowing people,
I have
networking.
a question. I have a question that I've been wanting to ask. I feel like in the time that I've been here, I've had to realize that all these players in the music industry have to reinvent themselves like every 3 months.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't say every 3
works.
months, but reinvention is real. I've had to reinvent myself numerous times. And I took 15 years off from the business to raise my family. I have 2 kids.
Wow.
So I have a 19-year-old son who's a musician. And I have a 16-year-old daughter. And I literally took 15 years off just to raise my children. And getting back in the game for me was extremely difficult because I was considered old. And nobody really wanted to hire an elderly person doing A&R. But I really got in on the music tech side, which we'll talk a little bit more about. But getting back to the whole creativity and creating your own space as a person in this business is how to stand out. Because I really believe it's hard work. It's really about dedication and being ahead of the curve. So when you're working with somebody who's been in the business a long time, people who are in the chair, they don't really have the time to go out and look for who's new. Because they're so busy keeping their job. They're so busy handling the talent that they've signed that they're not looking for the next new producer. And that's where you come in. That's where you come in and say, hey, here's some new artists I'm listening to. Here are the next producers. And you're always giving them new content, new information. And they look to you to help make them young, help them keep them on what are the kids listening to. So I did that in my era, and that's what I think is really valuable for young kids, young interns now, is I'm always looking for somebody who's on the cutting edge and knows more than me, who goes to the clubs, who knows who the new producers are, who works with the new artists, what's the new style, what new social media thing is happening. I want somebody to teach me because I'm so busy maintaining what I have that I don't know if I always have the time on what's next and what's new.
I see. I'm gonna ask you about music tech in a little bit.
Sure.
That's a very interesting thing that she does. But I wanted to ask before we move on about work-life balance, because I feel in the music industry it's pretty hard. I mean, any industry, it's hard to maintain a good work-life balance, but this industry in particular. So how do you think you've been able to balance all the pots you have your hand in?
That is a very good question. And you know what? Honestly, you can't have it all the time. And I used to think I can. I mean, I'm one of those type of people like, I'm going to have a family. I'm going to be president of a company. I'm going to travel. And I had to sit out for 15 years to raise a family. And I just think that it is very difficult, especially for women. It's very difficult to have that balance, and you have to put parameters and lines in the sand of what you're doing. And that's been a challenge for me too, to be honest with you, because I'm known to work 24/7. Like Fat Yaki was at my house last night rehearsing till 8 o'clock. Our band Fat Yaki at the beach, exactly.
Check them out.
And they needed a rehearsal place so we could shoot some content. So I was like, come to my house, let's do it. But it is a very difficult work-life balance in the music business because there's so much socialization. And you're always going to dinners and meeting people. And then, you know, you become really good friends with people when you're creating content together, creating records together, making music together. It becomes your new family. So it is difficult, but I've learned that over time that first things first, I put my me time for working out, you know, spiritually connecting, so I can be in the positive mode of moving forward and doing as much as possible. And but it is music business, the entertainment business, you know, kind of consumes you, and it is a very difficult work-life balance.
Yeah, and kind of going off this, but also a bit different, I wanted to ask, since when we were compiling a list of people we could do for intern interviews, I think you were one of the only, if not the only woman that we thought to have on the show. And so I'm wondering, like, how do you think your experience in the industry was different being a woman?
Well, it's a lot harder being a woman. I'm just going to keep it real.
Yeah,
just let's keep it real. You know, it was tough. And I grew up in an era, I was in the business in an era where, you know, those boundaries were really crossed a lot. But I got to say, I was one of the lucky ones because I'm a tough girl. I'm super tough.
She is.
Plus, I was married, you know, the whole time.
Oh, right.
I was married most of the time. I had a stint when I wasn't for a while, but I didn't have a lot of people that crossed that boundary with me. I was one of the lucky ones. I know there are other stories out there, but no means no to me. And if anybody steps to me, they're going to get hurt. So, and I was always in a position of power a little bit. So it wasn't as, you know, it's hard when you're coming up the ladder, you get a lot of that sexual harassment stuff. I have to say I was very lucky that I didn't have, you know, people make comments, but no one ever crossed the line. And I made sure, like, don't cross that line with me. But it is prevalent out there. It's tough. But being a woman, you have to work twice as hard. That's the reality of it. At the same time, though, you get in the door a lot faster. So you can get in the door a lot faster, but it's how you handle yourself and how you execute. And I, you know, growing up in the era that I grew up in the music business too, you know, really, you could not cross those lines. So I have not really, you know, I didn't marry anybody in the business. I married outside of the business. I pretty much dated outside of the business just because my career is super important to me and I wanted everybody to take me very serious. And I feel like that's why I've been, you know, pretty successful. And I can always go back to people and do deals because I don't have to worry about anything coming out, you know?
Right.
But like I said, it's one of those businesses where the personal and the fun and the business all intertwine. So it's very difficult to keep those really strict lines. And being a woman, like I said, you just have to work twice as hard, and that's just how it is. I think there's a lot more opportunity now. But it's still, like, I'm president of TuneGo, a music tech company, and you know, there's not a lot of female presidents of tech companies. You know, so I love giving back to other women.
I didn't know you were the president.
Yes, I'm the president.
Wow.
I know, I don't ever say that, but thank you. Because I'm a consultant at Hidden Beach because I love making records too. So the music business, especially making records, is very interesting because even if I said I don't want to make records anymore, they always like pull you back in. So, and I do love artists and I love making music and I love helping artists go from no one knowing who they are to being a platinum artist or having success. That's really fun to see the growth when you believe in someone. But I really love my career in music tech, which is at TuneGo. And, you know, we are a platform that does Web3 and NFTs. And we started as
give the people a little bit of, like, a little definition of what those are.
Well, Web3 is, so Web2, let's start with Web2. Web2 is the Spotifys, the Instagram, the Facebook, where people put their content out on those platforms and those platforms send it out to people who they think would like it. But unfortunately, the artist doesn't really know who their followers are on every platform. Web3 and the creation of NFTs is actually taking distribution back to the individual, to the artist, to the record company, whatever, and giving them direct contact to their fan base. And then once you have this Web3 distribution platform, then you can put out the NFTs, which is non-fundable tokens, which is basically putting your music and whatever artwork you want out on a blockchain. And that it becomes part of your gallery of, you know, and it also is very, once you put it out on blockchain, it's kind of controlling your rights and security. So when you say you wrote this song, there is no confusion on who wrote it, where the splits are, et cetera, et cetera. So it's an evolving platform. It's evolving right now, but it is the future. And at TuneGo, we started as a distribution platform for independent artists. And then we built on, because we have this vault, which secures all your rights. You put your music on there, you put your credits on there, you put your splits on there. It gives you a digital fingerprint everywhere you go. So if I send a song to you and you send a song to Alex, I know you sent that song to Alex. So there's no like, oh, Alex didn't get it. Yes, he did. He got it on this day. So we have a platform that really gives you security. Mm-hmm. And then once the NFTs started coming out, it really helped that we could just launch our next phase into releasing NFTs for artists. And we are becoming the NFT music platform mm-hmm. for independent artists and for legacy artists. Mm-hmm. And we're also talking about labels helping them too. Mm-hmm. So we've kind of gotten in early. I've been blessed to be in an amazing team. And that's part of what we're doing with Hidden Beach too, is taking content and all Steve's albums and music and turning them into opportunities in the NFT space. Mm-hmm. And really going back out and saying, let alone do you have this on streaming, but now you can get something really special that's an NFT that's uniquely put out, that's on the blockchain, that's yours, and you can trade. And it's just the new frontier of the business.
I want to go a little bit farther back into your career, mm-hmm. just for a second. Give me one of your funniest or most memorable experiences at your first job in the music business. B, one of your funniest or most memorable experiences with someone in the music business, whether that be a artist or mm-hmm. someone else. Maybe an artist. I feel like that'd be entertaining.
Yeah. Well, I have actually two really funny. So my first job at a live entertainment, we had Luther Vandross. And Luther mm-hmm. Vandross was not the easiest person to work with.
Oh.
So Luther Vandross is this amazing diva. Singer. Yeah, he was a diva. And I remember he had a tour at the Forum. And, you know, I'm like this new, I wasn't an A&R, the new person that did all the checks and stuff. And I came back and he looked at me and he was like, who are you? And why are you backstage? And I said, oh, I have the checks for the band. I work for, Shep. And he went, no, you don't. I have never met you before. And I was like, I'm trying to give checks out to the band. And he kind of like banned me until the road manager came and said, no, Alison really is the new person to give out checks. So, I was like, oh, he's a trip. And then after that, he came to the office and he was really nice to me. He walked into the room and he said, I'm really sorry for being rude to you. I didn't know who you were. And you were like coming in, like acting like you were the boss. And I go, because I am the boss. So that was a funny story. And Luther Vandross was one of my favorite amazing singer artists. He's no longer with us, but his music lives on forever. So that was a funny story.
One more.
Another story, so funny, both of them. Well, I had a tragic story. You want to hear a tragic story?
Okay.
Yeah. I actually have some crazy stories. But, so when I was vice president of A&R at Warner Brothers, Roger Troutman reported to me. And Roger Troutman, the Troutman brothers were a huge, huge artist. Roger Troutman was featured on California Love with Tupac, and he did the voice recorder. And when I walked into Warner Brothers, he no longer had a contract, and I just knew who he was, and I sat with him and his brother, Larry, and I said, I'm here to help you. What can I do to keep you at Warner Brothers? And I think you're amazing. You've had all these huge records. And he goes, I want to work with every rapper in the business. I want to be the guy that works with all the rappers. So I started making all these phone calls and he got on California Love and he did stuff with Snoop. I actually have a picture of me, him, and Snoop in the studio back in, I don't even know, the 90s, late 80s, 90s. It was 90s because it was 90s for sure, mid 90s. So anyway, I got a really great relationship with him and his brother, and I was bringing their career back. And it was just rewarding because I really love working with older artists, bringing their career back too, if they're nice. So, bottom line is, in the middle of this whole thing and his career coming back and him working with every major rapper from Snoop to Tupac to Dr. Dre, he said he wanted to leave management with his brother, and him and his brother got into a fight. And his brother took his life and took both of their lives. And I was one of the few people they called while they were fighting.
Oh, wow.
And it devastated me because I didn't know that was going to happen. They were fighting, and I was calling the vice chairman of Warner Brothers going, they're fighting. I don't really know. I'm kind of new to them, and I don't know what's going on. And Larry, unfortunately, was so mad at Roger that he shot him and killed him, and then he shot himself and killed him. And
wow,
I was devastated.
Wow.
That there was not something I could do to help them in the middle of all that. So the music business is crazy like that. You know,
Yeah, I wanted to ask, you are a very like personable, very kind, very bubbly person, and I'm sure that brought you very, very far in the music business. I feel like that's probably the thing that brought you so far, besides being hardworking. How are you able to protect yourself and like your spirit and your energy while being around all these egos? And because music is an art form, it's very personal to people, and it can bring out the worst in people.
Yeah, it's a tough business. I mean, I think part of it is I've worked with artists who are sometimes not nice. Like I literally, when I in the music business and you became head of A&R at different companies, unfortunately you had to drop people or take on artists that were already there and try to help them. And you know, some are nice, some aren't. I just stay positive. You know, I feel like my energy can uplift a room, and I'm not letting anybody bring me down. You know what I mean? I'm just, either you want me to help or you don't. And I say that to them. I said, I'm here to help you or not. Your choice. And if you want me to help you, I leave my ego at the door, and what can I help you with? If I'm not the right person for you, because I'm not for everyone, you know, I get on site. Listen, I've been at record companies where I walk in the room, people are like, you're too bubbly. You have too much energy. You drive me crazy. And I understand that too. I had a client, a big time producer who I was managing at this point. And he used to say to me, before you come to my house for a meeting, take it down like 5 notches. Because I was too like, let's go, you know. So I'm not for everybody, but I don't know. That's just my personality. I'm usually brought in to help uplift something or to fix something. I'm really good at fixing things because I listen to what artists, managers, producers want, and then I sit back and say, this is how I think I can help. And I always see my job as helping. I don't see my job as like I'm this record executive that I can make or break. It's not that. How do I help you further your career and your goals and what you love? And that's why I got in the business. That's what I do at TuneGo. It's really about how do we help independent artists make their money, get their money back, legacy artists. How do we open a new frontier? That's what I do at Hidden Beach, is how can I help to get to the next level? Where are you trying to go? And so the other thing that I do to keep my positivity is I hike, as you know, almost every single day.
That's beautiful.
And hiking really cleanses my soul. And when I have questions in life, which we all do, nobody knows exactly where they're going or how they're going. You have a plan. I seem to get my answers when I hike. So I'm a firm believer that being up in nature and hiking really it gives me new energy every single day when I hike.
I just have 3 more questions for you. They'll be very quick.
These are good questions. Sure. You're gonna be good.
Oh my gosh, they just slipped my mind. Oh yeah, okay. So, what's your zodiac sign?
So I'm a Gemini. I just had a birthday on June 6th. So yeah, I'm a crazy Gemini. So we have a lot of Geminis at this company at Hidden Beach. I don't know what's going on, but we have a lot of Geminis. Yes.
Yeah, no, they do. They definitely do. Oh man. Oh my goodness. Okay. So what I was gonna say before is I think we all want to know at this point, how were you able to get rid of that self-doubt? Because the music business is a very competitive industry. Like through each step, how did you maintain confidence in yourself and confidence that this was your path?
That's a really good question, because especially depending on what you do in the music business. So I did A&R, so I would sign artists and develop them, and you know, some people in the marketing department like, I hate that artist, or that sucks, or I hate that song, or you don't know what you're doing. And that's really hard when you spend a year on an album and you turn it in and somebody doesn't get it, and you know it's a good record and you have to keep going. It's very difficult. artists think it's difficult, but it's also difficult for the rest of your team
Mm-hmm.
to believe and keep moving. But I don't know. You know what? My whole thing has that's a very good question. I'm trying to think, how do I stay positive? I just keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
There's just one of my favorite movies. I know this is off track, but I'm gonna bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite movies is, believe it or not, I don't even like zombie movies, but it's World War Z. World War Z with Brad Pitt.
I'm excited to see how you tie this to positivity.
So it's funny. I don't even like zombie movies, but it was Brad Pitt's zombie movie. It's an amazing movie, and he says something in there when the zombies are coming, and he goes into the apartment. Anyway, he's talking to the father, the family, and he goes, "Come with me. We're leaving. We got to keep going because the zombies are coming." And the father goes, "I'm going to stay." And he goes, "No, movement is life. You got to keep moving." And so that's, for me, that line right there is the definition of my life. I keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Even if something bad happens, I get up the next day and I go, what other step can I go moving towards what I need?
Mm-hmm.
And movement is life, so I keep moving. No matter how bad. I've had failed records. I've had records where I spent millions of dollars and did nothing. I've had records where I didn't believe in it and they blew up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like one of those things where you have to trust your gut and keep moving in life.
Wow. I mean, this kind of answers my last question, which is one piece of advice for someone trying to get into the music business or just interested. You just gave really good advice now, but is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I think the other thing about getting in the business is finding a mentor. Finding someone that you can connect to and learn from them. And even if they don't pay you, maybe intern for them or ride on their hip. Or, I've had a lot of interns, a lot of assistants who go on and have done amazing things and are doing really well in the business. But I think it's about finding a good mentor, somebody you connect with, somebody you want to learn from. Because just sitting next to them at a meeting or going to dinner with them once a month starts opening up channels that you don't think about. And it's the combination of starting a new career in this business is hard work, trying to figure out where you want to go in the business, which is a little difficult. You kind of have to bop around. I bopped around a bit. Having a mentor, and then staying focused and knowing that this is your true passion, because when you love something, you'll do it no matter what. You don't care how much you're making, you'll do it because you love it.
Wow, very good advice. Do you want to give the people your Instagram or anything?
Oh, yeah. So, Alison Ball, my Instagram is Alicat Media on Instagram. I also have Ali in the Valley because I have a cooking blog too, but it's Alicat Media. If you want to know more about TuneGo, it's TuneGo.com. Of course, Hidden Beach. We are currently looking for new talent at Hidden Beach. So if you're an amazing artist, you got to submit some stuff to us. And I think those are all my handles, I think.
Alrighty. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.
Wait,
Good
what's
questions.
your rising?
My rising is Aries.
Okay. That's all.
Which kind of balances me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I am a true Gemini where I do 100 things at once, but that Aries kind of stables me.
Yeah.
A little bit, but I love that you've been here, just learning the business and having a fresh eye to the business. And like I said, you know what? You just figure out what you want, get it in your head, and make it happen. Baby steps to the top.
Right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Good questions.
And this is an Intern Interviews. Thank you so much.
Great questions.
Come on now.